You see pictures of these guys doing a full engine change in the Arctic in the middle of summer with nothing but the most basic tools. It was an incredible job that these people did.
You did the look around and walk around and whatnot, but daily maintenance and everything like that. But then any snags that came up, like magneto failures or things like that, always difficult because you had to normally phone base for spares and you had no facility whatsoever. Normally what we did, we removed a power plant, complete power plant, from another Mosquito that wasn't doing anything at that particular time and switched it over to that aircraft. It was sort of a challenge to do it more than anything. Normally the pilot, an engineer and the camera operator would all help. You would tell them what to do and help along with that.
The time before overhaul on those engines under Spartan regime was 400 hours, but the most you'd ever get out of them was 220, because there was a fatal flaw which Spartan fixed, was a fixed line that controlled the prop governor unit and kept breaking, and then you'd lose all your oil and you'd over rev. So they modified that rigid line with a flex line.
But theoretically, it was a real good engine. If you take the number of Merlins that were used during the war and the number of failures, I think it's pretty good average that they were a good engine.
Because militarily, they only flew them 50 hours because they would fly them at max all the time. But Spartan would fly them at a reduced power setting to save the engines. But 220, 225 was sort of a critical time for them to fail.
The remote and unusual flying conditions challenged Spartan crews to find creative fixes. Pilot Weldy Phipps was the lead on choosing Mosquitoes for aerial photography work and continued being a vital asset to Spartan with his innovative modifications.
Almost a genius in his abilities. We used to beat the tails off them in the Arctic because of the stone runways. So he came up with the idea where you just epoxy the tailplane. That solved the problem. Another one of his famous, everybody nicks in the prop from the gravel. Of course, they would unbalance them, and of course, they'd vibrate. Welding, no problem with welding. You just take a file them out or hammer them out, away you go again. This is the type of person he was. He had great ability to solve a problem.
Pretty hard flying on engines and also operating in conditions like Great Bear Lake, Pelly Lake, sand conditions where sand gets ingressed into the engine itself and you run into trouble there with seize pistons and whatnot. It was tough doing maintenance in the field. Facility was the main thing. As soon as you got to a base, you try and get hangar space and get the aircraft in and do a good check on everything else.
Our people were involved in what they did, and they just gave their best.
Spartan Air Service's success can largely be attributed to the enterprising makeup of their crews. These men were determined to get the job done